Yes! Oh man, it's Friday night and I'm here to talk football. You know what? I'm not wearing my Chiefs shirt I normally wear. So if the Chiefs don't beat the Broncos 17 times in a row this Sunday, you can blame it on me. I'll take full responsibility, but I will wear my Chiefs shirt. When the game time comes, I'm about at I'm gonna say apologize about that. I'm just double checking to make sure I'm broadcasting live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, which I am. I've been feeling really under the weather lately. I'm going to call myself at 70%, so I'm not sure if I'm going to do the Chiefs game or not. It's 3.5 hours. It's a lot that I got to go through. So I'm undecided. I haven't created the live stream. I'm going to kind of make it a game time decision if I'm going to do the Chiefs Broncos game, which I really want to do. One Pride says, how's it going, man? It's going really good, man. I feel a little better. I've been really under the weather. It's been hard. Normally before I come on, like I did Tuesday, I took like some cough drops and, some cough syrup, and I had a hot thing of tea and I had some water. I'm sick of taking cough drops. I'm sick of drinking Robitussin. I'm sick of all that shit. I'm sick of tea. I just have water right here. I did have some coffee earlier. Don't get me wrong. But I'm unsure if I'm going to do the Chiefs game Sunday. Now, just a few quick announcements. I'm going to do my best to do an in-depth, detailed video of my power rankings before I went on the air. I kind of went through and put together my 1 through 32, and I feel pretty good about the list. I feel pretty good about it. So I got my 1 through 32 down. Of course, that's going to all change after this week, but I'm going to do my best to get a power rankings video out. I think I'm going to do it Wednesday. I'm going to try to have some detailed information in there. So I really want to get some feedback. My team, yeah, exactly. And so what I want to do is that I'm going to actually I'll have 1 through 32 set. And then I'm kind of predicting a Lions victory. So unless the Raiders beat the Lions, my power rankings will already be set by Monday. So there's not going to be too much of a change unless the Raiders pull an upset. So I'm going to have mine set. By the way, One Pride, if you're interested, if you don't want to, you don't have to. But when I release mine, in the comments section, on the power rankings video, if you could put yours down, that way we can kind of compare and contrast and kind of go from there. That would be awesome. The NFL trade deadline is next week. There's a few big names. I think it's a big name. Hunter Renfro's name has been thrown around. DeAndre Hopkins' name's been thrown around. Derrick Henry's been thrown around. I'm going to level with you. I don't think Hopkins is going to leave, and the reason why is that Will Levis is getting his first start, and I think what Tennessee really wants to do is that they want to give Levis a target to throw at. Like, he could be covered, he could be bracketed. I really think that they want to keep him. It wouldn't surprise me if Derrick Henry gets moved, but that's a tough one because it's a lot of money for a guy who's not really a 3-down back. I think Dallas makes a lot of sense personally. I think Derrick Henry to Dallas makes a lot of sense if you're trying to do that, push. I've heard some people say Derrick Henry to Philly. I don't know. I don't know. I don't hate it. I really don't hate it. I really just don't know. But it kind of makes sense because he's going to be a free agent after this year. You can get some extra draft capital, which it looks like Tennessee's trying to do. So I'm looking forward to that. Hunter Renfrow is a guy that a lot of people have been talking. Also, I forgot to mention Dalvin Cook. Hunter Renfrow makes a lot of sense because I'm going to tell you right now, I would love for him to be in Kansas City. Now, keep in mind, we already traded for Miracle Hardman, but Hunter Renfrow in a Chiefs offense, I think, would be money. The reason why he's not being used in the Raiders with the Raiders, I have no idea. It seems to me it'd be a perfect fit. A team that may be of some interest, I think, would be Green Bay. They got a young receiving core. Adding a guy like Hunter Renfrow would make a lot of sense. But let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Yeah, man, I would love that. I would love for that one, Pride. Yeah. When I release the picks video, I'm gonna try to do it noon Wednesday. I'm gonna try to go into a little more detail. You can put yours down, and hopefully we can get some people commenting which ones they like better. You know, I mean, everybody's gonna say mine's better, of course, but no, I'm teasing. I gotta be careful here. I don't know. We live in a sensitive time, but yeah. Me being I would love it, man. I would love it. I would love nothing more than that. One Pride. I'd love nothing more than that. I would really get a kick out of it. And you were really into it, but not a lot of people were. So hopefully we can get some people kind of commenting, because I kind of want to hear from other people about how they have their teams. Now, keep in mind, every fan base thinks that their team is better than they actually are. That's just fan 101. But I'm curious about, like, when I look at your power rankings, I'm actually not looking at the Lions. I want to know what you think about the other 31, and we're going to have some differences. And so that's kind of how I look at it. And when you look at my power rankings, you should take away the Chiefs completely and then look at, 1 through 31. And that's kind of what I'm hoping people would do. And I'm hoping that I can get, because you're going to get people like, let's say you're a Dolphins fan. By the way, Pete should be joining me next Friday. I've been sending him messages. He hasn't responded back, but he should be on. He has a Dolphins channel. Chiefs will play the Dolphins in Germany. It'll be the first game on next week's bracket or next week's docket. So I'm really, really looking forward to that. But I've had some problems getting a hold of him, so hopefully that's still on board. Yeah, I'm hoping it can kind of kickstart some conversations, because I really want to hear from other people. I want to hear what other people are thinking about not only their teams, but some of the other teams in the league. So One Pride says, I have no idea why the Raiders want to shop him around. It seems weird. It does seem weird. I don't understand the Hunter Renfrow hate. It made a lot of sense because he's a different type of player than Devontae Adams. I really thought it'd be a really nice mesh. And keep in mind, he's a Julian Edelman, Wes Walker type of player. If you want to call him white, and you can say that. I mean, I'm not, but it just seems to make sense, and it doesn't. I mean, it really doesn't. I mean, I don't think he'll get traded to the Chief. I would love it if he was a Chief, by the way. I would love nothing more, but I just don't see it. But I think a team like Green Bay makes a lot of sense. And if I'm the Packers, I would really think about it, because you got a young receiving core that needs kind of a veteran slot guy. I think it makes a lot of sense. So a lot of people from other teams want to. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm hoping. And the thing is, though, I did my picks videos or I did my rankings videos, and I really didn't get a lot of feedback. And you have to realize certain teams match up better with other teams. I try to do it like that. Like, let's say, let's take your Lions and the Ravens. Let's say you were put them on Madden. Detroit might have an 88 rating, or Baltimore has an 87, but Baltimore can beat Detroit because they match up with them really well. I think Kansas City's a better team than Cincinnati, but Cincinnati matches up against Kansas City really, really well. And certain teams just match up better against other teams. It's just the way it is. Do I think Baltimore's a better team than Pittsburgh? Pittsburgh's a better team, or I'm sorry, Baltimore's a better team. They just are. Baltimore's a better team than Pittsburgh, but Pittsburgh beat them, and that's kind of Pittsburgh matches up really good. You division rivals are another thing. Let's say this weekend Denver beats Kansas City. Am I going to tell you Denver's a better team than Kansas City? No, nobody's thinking that. But the upsets happen. Yeah, matter of fact, I got two kind of big upsets, and I'm going to go over the remaining 15 games. I used Caesar Sportsbook. I didn't use DraftKings. But if you have a question, by the way, all my social media is below. DM me Saturday as late as you can, or I'm gonna level with you. I won't get back to you on Sunday, but Saturday night, probably to around midnight, I'll get back to you if you have a question about a game that you're thinking about putting action on, prop bet, anything like that. My boy George, GRP Wins is Twitter handle. I don't have it in the link below, but if you do any sports betting, he's the guy you want to follow. He lost Thursday night picking Buffalo, which I recommended against. But by the way, Thursday night football was really important because it's first time in several weeks I've gotten both the winner and against the spread correct. I had Tampa Bay. My score prediction was Buffalo 24, which they scored 24. But I had Tampa Bay 22. They scored 18. That's pretty much dead on. I mean, you can't really do any better than that. I thought it was going to be a close game. I'm really proud of that. I've been kind of rough. I'm below 50% against the spread, and I think I'm 40-24 straight up for the year. So I don't know if that's great or not, but against the spread, I'm trying to get above 50. I'm below 50% right now, and I'm going into Sunday 1-0. So yeah, exactly. I really kind of want to hear from people, and I really don't. I really want to hear some stuff. So don't expect over in Indeed. That's pretty funny. Yeah, I kind of, the whole thing about doing a power rankings is I really just want to hear from other people. I put stuff out. The only reason I put these videos out is really they're just conversation starters. That's all it is that you give your opinion. I give you my opinion. I really want to hear from you. What am I wrong? What am I right? I'm going to go over the other 15 games, and I may do a special video if there are some trades, and I do expect a few. Last year there was a bunch. You had Roquan Smith, you had TJ Hawkinson. There's another big one I'm drawing a blank on. I'm 14 minutes into the show. I'm already having a brain freeze. I already said his name. Dalvin Cook, I'm sorry, the Jets running back. He's requested a trade. Dalvin Cook and the Raiders receiver, I just mentioned his name several times. Anyway, I'm just drawing blanks left and right. Anyway, I do think those two guys are going to move. Derrick Henry could be one. You're hearing things about DeAndre Hopkins. I don't see it myself, but it'll be very interesting. I would love that. I would love that. I would love that. I'd love to have you on, to be honest with you. Dalvin Cook, yeah, I'd love that. The only issue is that when we could do a video. I'm gonna DM you because I got some ideas. Like we could do a video. You could just come on live if you want to come on. Now next Friday, I'm expecting to have Pete on, but I haven't heard from him yet because I kind of want to get some Dolphins fans, a guy for Dolphins YouTube channel opinion on Chiefs Dolphins. Now I have a Dolphins are a big favorite this week. They're a 9.5-point favorite at home against the Patriots. That is my biggest upset pick of the week. By the way, my last 2 upset picks have hit. And this is the biggest one. I predicted New England against Buffalo. I like this one. And it's kind of just a feeling. I think New England's just a better team than people think. The offense has been painful to watch, but they did some things against Buffalo. I think they may be able to do some things against Miami. Miami has some problems on their offensive line, some injuries. Jalen Ramsey coming back's a big deal, So, but I'm going to hit you up about this one, probably, because I'd love to have you on. We just have to work out the logistics, but yeah. Dalvin Cook, yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. It's funny because I don't think Tony Pollard and Dalvin Cook are really too different of players, so it would be surprising. But a guy like Derrick Henry going to Dallas makes a lot of sense, and it makes a lot of sense for Tennessee. To tell you the truth, it wouldn't surprise me, and I think this would be kind of a win for everybody. Derrick Henry goes to Dallas, and Dalvin Cook comes to Tennessee. That would kind of be a win for everybody. The only team that it really affects would be the Jets if they get a player that's injured. You know what, One Pride? I apologize because I didn't know you were trying to. I didn't even know you had a channel. I'm going to hit you up. I'll hit you up, and right after the show, I'll DM you and we can. I don't know what BLV is, though. I don't know what BLV is. But I'll give you some knowledge I have. Hit up Luke G, who's got better or more successful channel than mine. So here's the deal, Keys. I'm probably jinxing the Chiefs. I was doing several different things. Bottom line, I don't know who that channel is. I'm saving it for Sunday. I'm on the fence if I'm going to do a show Sunday or not, but I was doing several things right before the show started, and I didn't get a chance to completely dress. I'm wearing like my pajamas. I'm doing the show in my pajamas today. But Keys, man, it's so great to see you. By the way, for those of you who don't know, Keys is part of the Back Talk Brothers, Decay, and they're starting to put out some content on Wednesday nights. I wasn't able to join. I watched the show afterwards. It's good stuff. Go to his channel, check it out. And I might be jinxing the Chiefs, so if Denver wins, you can blame me not wearing my Red Friday shirt. But yeah, I got tied up. I don't know about him. Did you show lead with my power ranking? Not this week. Not this week. But last week, Tuesday I did. If you want to, we can go into Tuesday's show with your power rankings, and then everybody Wednesday can comment on how much better my power rankings are. We'll work it out because I like that. Jinxon, you could, yeah. So by the way, one of the things I really hate that the NFL is doing, and college football is doing it as well. I think college football's kind of stopped. Is that everybody's doing the black jerseys? So you wore a black PM15, but the black and red, as you can tell from my chair, are my 2 favorite colors. So the black and red, I think, looks really cool. But yeah. I know how I am, and even though I'm not superstitious, if the Chiefs lose Sunday, I'm going to blame it on me not wearing my red velvet Chief shirt. So One Pride's power rank. I love it. OPR. I love it. OPR. The jersey is pretty sweet. So Keys, if you didn't get a chance to check Keys out, the PM15 jersey is pretty cool. It is pretty cool. I don't like how teams are going to all black jerseys, like Arizona did in all black. I think it's stupid. Arizona easily has the worst uniforms in the league. I know the Panthers did like an all black. There's a few other teams. It's stupid. Stop doing it. I know college teams are doing it. Like I know Miami Hurricanes did it. I know UCLA did it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. Stop it. If you change your jerseys to black like the Falcons did and you go, boom, that's it. From now on, we're going to have all black. I'm cool with that. But just like the black jerseys for 1 week or something, that's stupid. Yeah. Yeah. And that's a big thing. That's a big thing. So, yeah. By the way, that's the reason why the Chiefs won, was it Super Bowl 54 against 49ers, was all those showers. So, the jerseys were kind of cool. I'm not a fan of the black. I don't remember if they wore all green or black. I don't remember, but God, I wanted to watch that game. But you know what? Okay. You know what? It's funny. I actually hit him up on Instagram and I was going to have him on. I hit him up. He hasn't responded yet. I DM'd him on Instagram about a day or two ago about seeing if he wanted to come on my show. And here's the deal. I'd love to have all three of us come on together, and it would be more of a Chiefs-centered show. But yeah, I hit him up. He didn't respond back. I just on Instagram. So yeah, that was a tough game. Yeah. By the way, if you don't know, Michigan beat Michigan State. It was like 116 to nothing. I think it was 49 nothing, to be honest. But yeah, it's not true. But I'm going to tell you something, though. This may be coming to an end. For those of you that don't know, Michigan is being investigated. One of their assistant coaches was caught stealing signs. And it may not sound like it's that big of a deal, but the rumor is that they may be excluded from postseason play this year, the Michigan Wolverines. That's probably not going to happen because it looks like they're going to be, I'd say right now, they're maybe the best team in the country. You can argue Georgia if you want. I don't watch enough college football, but those would be my top two. When I can't prove this, but Pete Carroll left USC after he got wind of the Reggie Bush scandal. All right. Ron Meyer, watch Pony Excess. If you got a chance to watch NFL 30 for 30, Pony Excess is maybe the best. It's my favorite. It's fantastic. Ron Meyer admits that he got wind of the NCAA investigation, and that's why he left for the NFL. I really think that Jim Harbaugh is going to take an NFL job, and it's going to be because of this scandal. So there's going to be an NFL team that is going to get Jim Harbaugh as their head coach. I'm going to start it right now. I'm going to start the rumors because there's a few teams that are going to need new head coaches. After Thursday Night Football, I think Todd Bowles is on the hot seat. You're a Super Bowl ready team, and then you go 8-9. You start off 2-0, and now you're 3-4. The defense is so good, but the offense is painful to watch. If you didn't watch Thursday Night Football and you saw the box score, you're like, it's a pretty close game. The defense was so good, and the score is 24-10. The Bucs got the ball back and 9 minutes left, and they went into their 8-minute offense. They literally took 7 minutes to get to midfield. The only way by the way, the touchdown, it should have been offensive pass interference, but ended up being a 30-yard reception. You could not go to midfield any slower than Tampa Bay did. The offense is just so god-awful. And they fired their offensive coordinator, replaced him with this new guy. They brought in Baker Mayfield. And I know they got some injuries on the offensive line. It's just so painful because that defense is really good. John Harbaugh, maybe he can go to Tampa Bay and he can get his quarterback McCarthy. I've been hearing some things about him being a first-round pick. I don't see it myself, but if that's your guy and you can bring him in, you can do some things. Wow, I didn't know that. I don't know the guy, but I'm glad you do. I'd love if all three of us could do a show together. Speaking of stealing signs, Tom Arnold got drunk one night in his hometown, knocked over like 50 stop signs. Yeah, Justin Watson is going to play. It turns out to be I gave you guys some misinformation. I told you that because it was a misdemeanor that Justin Ross would play and they'd handle it during the offseason. Instead, he's been put on the exempt list, so he's not going to play. I gave you guys some misinformation, but Justin Watson coming back is big. So I'll be honest with you, Watson. I'd rather have Watson than Ross. I'll be honest, even though the upside with Watson is so much higher. Or I'm sorry, the upside with Ross is so much higher. I'd rather have Watson because I'm all streaks come to an end as we proved week one when we had our 8-game streak lost against 8-game season opener streak lost to Lions. So. He will go to Bears. Oh, John Harbaugh. Okay, duh. John Harbaugh. I thought you were talking player. Actually makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. I could see it happening. I could see it happening. The way things are going right now, if Eberflus keeps winning, I could see the GM being gone and Eberflus getting another chance, but I could also see Chicago saying, hey, look, we'll have Harbaugh come in. He can bring in his general manager and then we'll clean house. So I'm going to give you your flower. Yeah, I was right about that. I like the flowers comment. Last time we played Denver, we didn't have a Minshew. I think how much he elevates the defensive line will be a big difference maker in the rematch. Our defense did really well against Denver, holding them to 8 points. And to be honest, 8 points wasn't really, it wasn't like, oh, no, you're going to be close. I mean, they kept it within one score, and then Chiefs kicked the field goal. By the way, score is 19-8. If the Broncos defense play Kansas City as well as they did in that time, it's definitely a chance that Denver will win. By the way, I mean, I was going to go in order, but I'll just say it right now. The line was 8. It's dropped to 7. So people are liking Denver. People are putting action on Denver. And I'll go over this here in a little more detail in a little bit. But I like Denver to cover. I think it's going to be another close game. I like Kansas City to win, of course, but I don't like covering 7 as much as I do 8 because I called 27-20. I think it's going to be a higher scoring game this time around. So, but Denver's defense is just terrible. But they played maybe their best game of the season, and there's a chance Denver's defense is starting to kind of. I'm sorry, just the opposite. Starting to get things around. So. That's dude, awesome. Yeah, if you don't mind, because I hit him up on Instagram, and I was like, dude, would you want to come on my show? And I was going to here's my logic. I was going to get him to come on, and after I confirmed that he would come on a time, I was going to ask if you would come on, and then I was going to ask him, do you mind how you feel about having a threesome? I mean, because who doesn't want a threesome with 2 other dudes? I mean, that's like every guy's fantasy. You've said that several times. Hopefully your wife's not listening, but yeah, everybody loves a threesome with 2 guys. So yeah, you know what? I'm not 100% sure that they're going to ditch Eberflus, but I can see the Chicago organization doing that. We are second favorites to land. Chase Young versus the Bears. Who said that? Who said that? Let me know who said that, because I mean I don't hate that. I really don't hate that, but I really also don't think that Washington's trying to move players, and because the general manager is Ron Rivera and he knows he needs to win, and this is his last year. I really think that if he moves a player like Chase Young, he wants something back in return. So that'll be interesting. I love Chase Young, by the way. Love Chase Young. Chase Young on the Lions, like, oh my God. That would be really ridiculous. I will say I saw a graph for percentage of dropbacks facing Oh God, this is gonna be a hard one. Okay, I'm gonna take a drink for this one. Yeah, I will say I saw the graph for percentage dropbacks facing perfect coverage versus EPA and perfect coverage. Russ has the third highest percentage of perfect coverage faced after Richardson and Riddler. Okay. I don't know how to really respond to that. I'm gonna tell you this. I think the Chiefs. I even though they held Denver to 8 points, I expect the Chiefs to do some things different because since they got a Montague, I really think that the way that they use Montague, because one time I noticed they had a Montague on the outside, Chris Jones on the inside, and I think they're getting really, really creative. I'm going to touch base on this comment here next. I apologize. I'm not. I'm keeping. All right. I don't know. My thought process was Vance Joseph threw a curveball last time, but going counter to his trends. So what does he do this time to throw them for a loop and gains an unexpected advantage? I take that percentage of perfect coverage faces an indictment on Sean Payton's scheme and he gets wide receivers open. Okay. I get you now. So Sean Payton's scheming combined with Vance Joseph's curveball, which he doesn't have this time. Yeah, and this, I'll be honest, I'm expecting a much higher scoring game. I think the Chiefs will put up more than 19, and I think Denver's offense is like they're getting better and better, but I don't think Russell Wilson's really the answer. By the way, one Pride, can you elaborate on this? I am completely lost what you mean by these comments. I appreciate that, Keith. I appreciate that. Should put this up right away. By the way, check out my week 8 picks video, but I'm going to go over everything. Oh, okay. Yeah. Check out my week 8 picks video, but I'm going to go over everything. It's kind of a milestone week for me, though. I hit 1,300 subscribers this week. So one Pride hit me up. I would love to have you on. What I do is that when I have a guest on, I send you a DM with some questions. I just don't, I try not to do anything that's going to, but yeah, I would love it. I'd love to. I'll give you any advice I can. I'm sure Keys would too. It's about like if you want to start a YouTube channel, some things. The one thing I'm going to give you a heads up on: if you start a YouTube channel, it's going to sound mean as fuck. It's the truest thing. This is my experience, and maybe Keys will tell you the same thing. Maybe he'll tell you the opposite. I don't know. Your friends and family, coworkers, they're not going to be near as supportive as you expect. I was in a fantasy football league with my coworkers. And by the way, every fantasy football draft always is the same thing. 1 through 4, rounds 1 through 4, everybody's saying, after round 5, people start gravitating towards me because like round 7, 8, 9, these are casual fans. It was a $25 buy-in league. So there was a couple of people that like knew nothing about football. So I would literally have people come in like, tell me about this guy and what about this? Hey, Dan, what about this? And I'd always help people out. It was a $25 league. I mean, I didn't give a fuck, out of those 12 people in that fantasy football league, I think only one of them subscribed to my YouTube channel. And so I put a few of my videos in our group chat. The lead administrator, whatever you want to call it, kept on deleting them. He's like, nobody wants to look at your shit. That was like his quote. And he was a dick about it. And we ended up getting kind of we ended up getting, kind of into it and stuff. Long story short, you know what? I'm not going to go in there, but I want to do, but the issue, the only problem is that I'm going to do my show. I'm going to do my power rankings video on Wednesday, and I would love to have that show on Tuesday. Originally, I did Monday morning power rankings, and it was just something really quick. But do more detailed, it'd have to be Wednesday. So The only issue with that is that I'd have to do that. We'd have to do that Friday instead of Tuesday, but we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. Because Friday, I really want to go over. I really want to go over the games that are going on through the week. So, but we'll figure something out because I'm thinking we might just be able to do a video. We'll see what happens. You know the deal. Hey, I don't recognize this. I can't tell. I'm guessing from the logo you're a Cowboys fan. That's awesome. We need more Cowboys fans in this community. You know the deal. So if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. So Jerry calls the Titans Trey Lance and a second-round pick for Henry and 2 late-round picks back. Okay. Well, first off, I'm gonna poke some holes in it. Okay, I'm gonna tell you what. Trey Lance going to Tennessee, no. And the reason why is that they're going to start Levis this week, and they have Tannehill, and they already have Malik Willis. Now, the only way that trade would work is if they trade Malik Willis, but it doesn't matter. I mean, why would you get rid of Malik Willis just to add in Trey Lance? It doesn't really make any sense. So Trey Lance to Tennessee, just throw that away right off. I would just exit that completely. But a second round for Derrick Henry, that makes sense, just straight up. Now, I know what you want. You want some picks back. That won't happen. Now, I know what you're thinking. Tennessee has those extra picks to the Kevin Byard trade. Well, Tennessee really wants to add to this team because Tennessee's kind of in rebuild mode. So they're not going to give you those 2 late round picks that you want. They're not even going to get you one. Because I know what you're thinking. The second round may be a little too much for Henry. It is. But that's why you do it. All right. Because you get a guy that really, it seems like you kind of need. And I think that would work. It would be a 1-year rental. You're not going to sign him again. I mean, maybe you do. I don't think you would, but you could. But Derrick Henry for a second, I like. Trey Lance makes no sense in a trade to the Titans. Does Trey Lance make sense for another team? Yeah, but not Titans. I do want to do that. I really do want to do that. That's why we'd have to do it Friday, but we may have to make this a video, or I'd have to figure a way to get my power rankings out on Monday, or maybe even Tuesday. It's just that my picks video, this next picks video I'm going to do is I really want to go in a little more detail on my picks video. I don't want it to be more than 15 minutes. I like the fact I've been doing them short, but it takes time to do the picks videos the way I want to do it going forward. I mean, the way I've been doing it with no sound at all, just I put into music, I put into graphics. I already have that preset. It still takes a couple hours, and it's just that I don't have time to do a couple hours on that, a couple hours on the picks video, and then a couple hours about the video. Or well, actually, it wouldn't be a couple hours. I'd just have you come on live. But I'm thinking about it. I might be able to speed the process up and just put something quick out instead. But I really wanted to do some more detail about my power rankings. I wanted to do a more in-depth video. That's why I was wanting to do it on Wednesday, is because right after the show, I would take a break. Then I would kind of knock out the video, So we'll have to wait and see. But I would love this. I don't know, maybe we could do something on Friday where we go over the picks and the power rankings. We'll figure it out. You're fine if it's second for Henry. If you're talking about taking a flyer for a couple late round picks, I'd strongly consider it. Trey Lance hopes to boost his value, flip him for maybe more. That's kind of how I see it, Keys, because I would take a second for Henry. To me, that makes sense. That's kind of like what Tennessee would move him for. Would end up being a low second round pick. A low second round pick is what you would end up getting. It would be somewhere in the, you can debate this, but to be honest with you, there's no way it's going to be higher than 50. So you're looking at 51 to 60 to 64. So that's what you're looking at. That's what you're getting. And that's fair. It really is. Now, I think with Trey Lance, I think that you keep him in Dallas. I really do. I think you keep him in Dallas. But you could move a receiver. I don't think you're using your receivers right anyway. You got a guy like Jalen Tolbert who's talented, big, and raw, and you're not really playing him. Gallup's the guy who's expensive. He's not really producing that much. Brandon Cooks is solid. I don't think you're using any of those guys right. You know, if I'm Dallas and I want to move somebody, I'd move a receiver. But you know, they're in a situation where they kind of want to get something back. So what you're looking at is, if I'm Dallas, can I trade Trey Lance for a corner? And that makes sense. Dan, how many teams in the NFC North had new coaches in 20? Oh, that's a great one. I think it's one, and I think it's the Bears, and I'm iffy on the Bears. Right, I would put the line at 0.5, and the reason why is that Minnesota's not going anywhere. Dan Campbell's not going anywhere. Green Bay, even though it's kind of a weird thing, I would even though it's not a good situation in Green Bay, I would kind of like, what's easier to move, your coach or Jordan Love? Could you do both? Sure. I mean, you could, but and here's the deal. I also don't think that if Eberflus keeps winning, I would be more apt to give him another chance and get a new general manager and figure out what to do at quarterback. Because it seems like the problem, well, I mean, there's some problems on defense, but the problem really is Justin Fields just isn't that guy. Which division do you think will have the most new head coaches? God, it's too soon to tell. I'm going to level with you. If Tampa, now here's the deal. The NFC South. The way Tampa Bay's going, I think Bowles will be gone. Frank Wright is not going winless. But if he looks really bad, I mean, there's no excuse for that defense. Evero, I think, would be solid, but I can make a case that Frank Wright's a one and done type of dude. Dennis Allen's job's not safe with the Saints, and with the Saints, they have to blow that thing up too. So, I mean, I could honestly think it's the yeah. So you could have three. But let's just say this. Let's just say this, because I think the Saints have the best team in that division. If the Saints have the best team in that division, and they win that division, Arthur Smith's gone, no question. Now, if they go 10-7 and make a wild card, which I really think only one team in that division when goes to the playoffs, but let's just say Saints win it 10-7, and Falcons are 9-8, 10-7 to get into the playoffs, and then those two jobs are safe. And then I think Bowles will be gone, and I don't think Frank Wright's safe. I really don't. And you may say one and done, but they just may, hey, look, this isn't working. You're 100% correct, Keys. That's kind of what I'm looking at, and that's why it makes sense. I think the Lions a lot of things could happen. A lot of things can happen. Let me ask you this, Dan. Who on the Titans would you keep to build that team around? Well, Jeffrey Simmons, they assigned him to a big deal. I love Harold Landry. I would keep him around. They got some young corners, talented players, but I would try to keep the defense intact if I'm Tennessee, because that's what you're building this team around, is your defense. But your offense has been struggling for a couple of years, and it's because you gave a lot of money at Tannehill. He's not a franchise quarterback. He was better than Mariota. All right. And by the way, I don't know if I said this before, but Caleb Williams is a lot like Marcus Mariota, except I liked Marcus Mariota more as a prospect. I liked the way he conducted himself. He was bigger. I think that he was a better prospect than Caleb Williams. I kind of want to say that, but those two guys remind me a lot alike. I say that because you want to build your team around. Because if I'm Tennessee, I got to scrap. I'm losing Derrick Henry. Treylon Burks hasn't turned it on yet. It's injury issues, but he's got to figure some things out. But they need some receiving help. All right. You got your quarterback. You still got some holes. I don't know about the offensive line situation because they got Skornansky. He's playing left guard. He was your first round pick. You got your tackle back from suspension. I think he's your right tackle, Nicholas Pierre or something like that. I don't know who your left tackle is off the top of my head. I should, but I don't. But that's what I see. That's kind of what I see. And to be honest with you, once you start Levis and you start that process going, you're just adding a few pieces. It's not like, blowing up the team. It's just you're losing Tannehill, you're losing Derrick Henry, and that's it. I mean, you got your number one wide receiver still. You have to add that receiving core. You have to replace the running back. That's not that hard to do. And then Tennessee could look at 2024 and say, listen, if Levis just improves, then we can win. We can. I think Jacksonville's building something good. So you can say, hey, look, we can compete with Jacksonville. Because I think Jacksonville's the team that's really going to dominate that division for the next couple of years. And that's just kind of the way I see things. I think Indianapolis is going to go through some trials and tribulations with Anthony Richardson. Drawing a blank on the other team right off the top of my head. I mean, you got Jacksonville, you got the Colts, you got the Titans. Who's the team I'm forgetting? God, that is so embarrassing. Who's that other? Oh, Houston. No, Houston's building something really good. So, in your opinion, do you see Jerry making a big swing other than Cooper a few years back? They tend to hold picks and try to build through the draft rather than try. Well, he's been public saying no, he doesn't want to do anything. So that kind of leads me to think that he could be trying to do something. The thing is, when I look at the Cowboys roster, the only really move I think that they could make is I think Derrick Henry going to Dallas makes a lot of sense. Except for Derrick Henry, is there a corner on the market that you would maybe want to add in? And off the top of my head, I can't think of any corners off the top of my head that are free agents that are or free agents to be. Like, Derrick Henry's contract's up at the end of the year. That's why I think Dallas could make that move. But is there a corner that you could be looking at and saying, hey, look, Dallas could add somebody, and that's it. But I'll be honest, if I'm the Dallas Cowboys, unless it's Derrick Henry, then I don't think it's anything. Jerry Jones has liked making big moves, and it wouldn't surprise me as after the season, because by the way, the deal. If you go back to my video, I'm not going to ask you to watch the whole thing, but like if you go back to it, because I'm trying to prove a point. I had Keys on. Keys is this guy right here. I had Keys on my show. We gave our preseason predictions. I predicted Kansas City versus Dallas in the Super Bowl. Okay. I think that right now, Philly, and I've been saying this for a while. For a lot of you that are listening here, I'm just talking to the deal. I've been saying, I think in the NFC, you got San Francisco and you got Philly. They're tier 1. I think in tier 2, you got Detroit and Dallas. After the season's over, if that's how things are, or Dallas is a second-tier team, or they get to the NFC championship game and they don't advance, then it wouldn't surprise me if you make a big move for a player before the draft. And I don't know who that would be off the top of my head. You'd have to kind of look at some things. But I think for this year, I think it's Derrick Henry, or is there a corner out there that you like, that you could make a move on. You have to think about these things, but I wouldn't be surprised if Dallas stayed pat, but the name that makes sense to me would be Derrick Henry. I view the Saints as a really boring team. Yeah, I know. And that's kind of why I like them. They're an old school team. The defense is really good. Alvin Kamara is very skilled. Chris Olave is talented. Michael Thomas is a guy that, to be honest with you, if I'm the Saints, I would kind of think about maybe moving if there's a team out there. Just hasn't been the same, and I don't blame him. I mean, got a couple of years didn't play, and all those injuries. I mean, you go from having, I think, the most accurate passer of all time in Drew Brees to a couple guys that, as of right now, Derek Carr looks like a journeyman. So, yeah, they are a boring team. But I do think that they're the best team in that division, but they're not getting it done. So, Taysom Hill and Cordell Patterson are two guys I'd love to trade for. Where some kind of under the radar, not super big names like Henry or Diop that you've wanted as a trade acquisition. Well, Taysom Hill has I don't see that. Well, I don't see it in Kansas City, but I could see it somewhere else because his contract's set up that if he plays quarterback at all, he does I think it's X amount of plays at quarterback. He has a lot of incentives. So there's some things in his contract that makes him really hard to move. That's also a guy I think that gets cut this offseason because the Saints are something crazy. It's like 70 or 80 million over the cap. Cordell Patterson, that's a guy I really like. I actually wouldn't mind him in Kansas City, to tell you the truth. But as a player, I wanted as a trade acquisition. I mean, it's kind of a big name, but Hunter Renfrow, I would love in Kansas City. But I mean, since you already traded for Hardman, I don't see it. I'll give you a player that I would love, and I don't think it's at all possible Chicago would move him at all. Would be Deontay Foreman, and I'm just talking for the Chiefs because he's a guy I just absolutely love. He's a big physical dude who I would love in Kansas City because they don't really have that big physical runner. To tell you the truth, the closest thing they have is a guy like CEH. And to tell you the truth, a Deontay Foreman for CEH trade makes kind of a lot of sense. It's just that I think that they like the fact that you got the Khalil Herbert, smaller guy, and you got the big guy. And CEH is a guy who, the Chiefs were kind of hoping would be kind of a 3rd and 1. Who do you give the ball to? Well, right now, 3rd and 1's you kind of want to give it to Pacheco, and I don't think you really want to use him that way. So a bigger running back would be somebody. Deontay Foreman's a guy I just absolutely love, and I think he's been wildly productive everywhere he goes. I don't think the Bears really want to move him, but that would be kind of a guy that I would love. I'm trying to think here. Another name that's I don't know the specifics. I already forgot his name. I don't know the specifics on Mike Williams' injury, but when he comes back, the second-year player out of Tennessee, the wide receiver for the Chargers is a guy, and keep in mind they wouldn't trade him to Kansas City, but that's a guy that may get some interest somewhere because he's a guy that I think could be like a Tennessee, a team like Carolina. That makes a lot of sense because I could see Carolina giving up maybe now keep in mind Carolina's already given up picks, but Carolina can give up a 3rd-round pick for that guy, and I can't believe I'm drawing a blank on that kid's name. If you're talking just Chiefs, so Deontay Foreman is a guy that I absolutely would love. But and the reason why is I'd love to see the Chiefs get a bigger running back. I'd love to see the Chiefs get somebody like Derrick Henry, but I don't think it'd happen. So I'm probably not giving you a great answer. The other answer that I would love to have here in Kansas City, and I think it would be a better fit than I don't think you would like it, but I would love it, and I don't think they could make it work. But bring in the Honey Badger back. And I know the secondary is already doing a lot of good things, but I just love that guy. He's another guy, and he's a big name. So you asking for names that are smaller names, and I'm giving you nothing but big names. So I'm kind of screwing you up. But yeah, but I would love to get bigger running back. And to tell you the truth, I would love it. And they're not, you can't do anything about it either. I would love to move CEH, who I think that you just have to wait till the off season and just don't re-sign him. I mean, I don't see how any team's going to take a look at CEH. The only team that would take a look at CEH would be Cincinnati, and that's if Joe Burrow just keeps on hey, look, we can use this guy. Because they got rid of their backup running back who's in Denver, and I'm drawing a blank on his name. By the way, you know the deal. I'm really bad with names. It's embarrassing. I just forget names. I can give you like 5 different facts on this guy, but yeah, I'm bad on names, so please deal with that. I have Atlanta right now. Yeah, it makes the most sense. Atlanta winning the South just makes the most sense. One pride. Makes the absolute most sense in the world. I got the Saints. I'm going to stick by it. I love Atlanta's defense. I mean, their defense has really amped it up this year. But I still like the Saints. Unless the Saints do like a fire sale and get rid of a bunch of players, which makes sense. And they kind of need to do it. So. Yeah, Keys, I 100% I agree. Except, well, let me I apologize. Let me back. I'm going to read this. I'm not sold to McCarthy and Dak, and I'm not either. Dallas making a play for a top quarterback in the draft next year, making a push for Cousins next offseason would be a move I would make if I was a Cowboys fan. I know that Jerry Jones and Dak, they love that. So I don't think so. If he does, I don't know. But UKTD, you know the deal. If you do have a channel, let me know. I'll 100%. If I'm not subscribed to it already, I will be. And by the way, Keith says the Chiefs should trade for Derrick Henry and Aaron Donald. Oh my God. Oh my God. We got the talent in the house. Gooch. Oh man. No trade market for Henry now looks like we have some time. I mean, there's still 4 days. There's 4 days. So I think that there's going to be some talks. I don't think, even though there's more talks about DeAndre Hopkins and Derrick Henry, I think Henry's the more likely one to move. But that's just my opinion. Hunter, yeah, I have no idea why Renfro is not getting love from the Raiders. It doesn't make any sense to me. He can run routes to get open. I love this dude. I love him here in Kansas City. But, yeah. And I'm hearing the Jets can't move Dalvin Cook. Well, Dalvin Cook's requested a trade. So Dalvin Cook's requested a trade. I think it's in the Jets' best interest to try to move him, to try to get something. But they may also just say, look, we don't know if Breece Hall can handle everything. We're just going to keep you on ice in case we do need you. It doesn't really fit in Dallas. I would love Dalvin Cook in Kansas City, and you could ship. I honestly would make this move. I would ship CEH and a 4th round pick for Dalvin Cook. And I don't know if they would make that move or not, but I would. That's expected. No, you're right. Nobody does, but I would love Dalvin Cook in Kansas City. While that's true, he was a 1,000-yard rusher last. Yeah, here's the deal. This is a guy that I really thought that if he plays 17 games, he's one of the best running backs in football. And the only reason Minnesota got rid of him was a salary issue. If you can make the numbers work, I mean, I think Minnesota would welcome him back for a lesser salary. They would ship off Cam Akers, to New York. That's a weird trade, but it makes a little sense. So that was the guy. Yeah, Samurai P. Ryan. I looked at Taysom's contract. All the quarterbacks' incentives are based on 224 attempts or else passing numbers. Okay, yeah. But he his contract, yeah, he's worth a lot, and they kept him around as like an emergency quarterback type of situation. He's a guy that if he got cut and Kansas City picked him up, I would love it, but not for $15 million a year. So, in my opinion, Atlanta's the most complete team. It annoys me that they didn't use Bijan. So, if you're wondering, here's the drill. Bijan was a scratch for the game. It was an injury, and so the Falcons are in trouble. And this is why if Arthur Smith, because this is something that could cost, this violates a rule, and this has cost teams draft picks before in the past. What happened was, what I heard was that he wasn't feeling well, but he was not on the injury report, and then he was injured game day, and the report was he just didn't feel well. He had his helmet on during the game, so I don't know why they didn't use him that way, but yeah, and that's something that's probably going to cost the Falcons a draft pick. It's going to be something that's going to be a fine, a draft pick. It's going to be a big deal. It is going to be a big deal. But no, he was injured. He didn't play last week. He was just injured, and that's just it's a weird story. I love to have Hill as tight end number 2, quarterback sneak, and quarterback on occasion. Yeah, I would too. I would too. I don't want to do that for $15 million. But yeah, I would love it. Don't be surprised if a couple of these guys move. Don't be surprised. Keys are the yeah. I still think it's the Saints, but it'll be interesting. Fill in the blank. Arthur Smith will be offensive coordinator for the blank. Well, okay. So in this, I'm gonna say this. That actually is not a bad fit, but Arthur Smith, if Atlanta fires him, Tennessee does make a lot of sense. But what I think is that I would look at the team I would really strongly look at, and keep in mind nobody knows what's going to happen, but I would really look at Tampa Bay, and Tampa Bay just needs some big time help. Now, keep in mind, I think Tampa Bay is going to get a new head coach, and they're going to draft a quarterback. So I'm looking at Tampa Bay. God, you guys are just ruining all my picks here. But I mean, you got to get either. You got to get figure out what you're going to do in Tampa Bay. Everything being the same, if you moved on from your offensive coordinator and you kept Todd Bowles, which I don't see happening, Tampa Bay makes the most sense. If Chicago does bring in Jim Harbaugh, Arthur Smith, I think would be a nice fit in Chicago. I mean, me and you've been talking for a while, Keys, about Arthur Smith. I'm sorry. We've been talking a lot about Doug Staley getting fired with the Chargers. A guy like Arthur Smith makes a lot of sense for whoever takes over. And I don't think he would get the head coaching job, but whoever takes over as head coach, I think Arthur Smith's going to be a hot name. A hot name as far as offensive coordinators. I could give you probably 8 to 10 teams. Tennessee, Atlanta, if he stays in Atlanta, I'm sorry, that doesn't make sense. Tennessee, Tampa Bay, that makes a lot of sense. If the Saints clear house, makes a lot of sense for the Saints. Chargers makes a lot of sense. Bears makes a lot of sense. If you decide that Mike McCarthy, and I keep in mind this is kind of the point about him wanting to call the plays, but if Dallas didn't win a Super Bowl, I can see a guy like Arthur Smith being brought in, and he may have the title, but he may not have all the power to call plays. That would, be a weird fit. Washington, I think that they're going to clean house any moment. That makes a lot of sense there. Our guy, Mike Kafka, our guy, I talk about him because he was the Chiefs quarterbacks coach. Now he's the offensive coordinator with the Giants. Giants offense doesn't get on track. You get rid of the no name, you bring in a big name like Arthur Smith, and this also lights a fire under a Dable, you know, like, hey, he's got to get things turned around. So actually, I take that back. As big of a channel as Vach Lombardi, I don't know who that is either. I mentioned Evero taking over the Panthers. If Reich is one and done, would they do that? Just have him drafting a first round wide receiver? Well, they remember the Bears have their pick. I don't think the Bears have that pick. So in the second round, and I don't think Evero would get that job. I think if Reich's one and done, I don't think Evero would get that job. I mean, the defense has been just terrible. So I think that they would clean house. But the Panthers, what they do in the second round is going to be interesting. But yeah, remember the Panthers pick goes to Chicago. As of right now, Chicago has the number 1 pick and the number 4 pick in the draft. So, but you got to remember the Panthers pick is gone. So Dable performed a miracle last year. If they can't have him on the hot seat already, I mean, he's smart going with Tyrod. It's kind of funny because yeah, you can. And the reason why you can is I remember saying this all sorts of name freezes today. I'm embarrassed about this. I am so embarrassed about this one because I was just talking about them like 4 seconds ago. I mean, like 4 seconds ago, and I'm like, I can't even believe I'm forgetting about this. This is the most embarrassing brain freeze I've ever had. Okay, Matt Nagy, Chiefs offensive coordinator. So he's Chiefs offensive coordinator, takes over as Chicago Bears head coach. What does he do year 1? He goes 12-4, wins coach of the year. Sound familiar? Guess what happened? Well, he got fired, and the reason why is he was at a sports. He goes to a sports town, and with high expectations after they lost all these guys, and so what you're doing is oh God, Keys. All right, let me touch base. I apologize. So can he get fired? Yeah, he can. But I think more than likely what you would do is you may move on from an offensive coordinator. And then what you do is you bring in a guy like Arthur Smith, and then you say, hey, look, you had a bad year. You have a second bad year. So it would be almost the same exact thing that they did with, I said his name like 4 seconds ago and I just forgot it. Same thing with the Chiefs offensive coordinator with Baby. I can't believe I forgot his name. God, it's awful. So in my we're going to talk, but in my description below, Sean Cannell, sounds like channel. In my description, every single one of my videos, there's links to his program. It's Think Media. It's if you want to build a YouTube channel, it's the best place that you can go. And why couldn't I not remember this guy's name? So go seriously check out his. If you click on the links I sent you, I get something. I would never recommend somebody who's never done anything on YouTube to just spend money on a YouTube coach program, anything like that. But he has several. You can go to his YouTube channels. And that's why I say check on those links. Go to his YouTube channels. Thousands of videos on YouTube. Lots of really, really great information. Check that out. I cannot stress this enough. It'll be the best thing you can do. Okay, so what you're saying was, would the Panthers go with a defensive head coach after drafting a quarterback round 1 this year? The answer is you could, and the reason why is you have a good defense, you have a stud quarterback, Tony Dungy, Peyton Manning, Bill Belichick, Tom Brady, but you have to have a really, really good one. I mean, you have to have a really good one. Right now, that's not the trend in the NFL. That's not the trend in the NFL. The trend in the NFL is to go after an offensive coordinator who's never been a head coach before, which is kind of what they did, and just the opposite. And you could look at Frank Wright. If he has a bad enough year, you could just say, look, we need to move on. Ben Johnson, offensive coordinator for Lions, getting a lot of publicity, not just from this channel, not just from the Lions fans in this channel, but I'm trying to think of an offensive coordinator, off the top of my head, who's a fresh face. Who's the Miami offensive coordinator? I can't think of who that is, but that's kind of the trend in the NFL right now. Could the Panthers go elsewhere? Is there like a defensive coordinator? To tell you the truth, kind of the guy, you've been talking about Lou Anarumo, I think would do awesome in Carolina. He would turn that defense around, I think, instantly. Of course, I thought Evero would do a good job too. So he also got a QB he didn't want, and that was Poles' fault. Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of why Poles is still there. So I could see the same thing happening in New York, where you get Dable. He has success year one, doesn't have success year two, and then year three, yeah. Do you think Kafka would take the heat in New York? I don't blame Kafka, but I could easily see Kafka getting the axe. I could. It's just, it's I've been really sick the last couple of weeks, Scooch. I've just been really sick. It's just taking a toll. But no, I'm just drinking water. I had a cup of coffee earlier. I haven't had an energy drink in a couple of weeks, and I'm kind of I'm kind of happy just being energy drink free. I might have to drink one or two tomorrow, but yeah. I don't know. The GM is the one who brought Jones back. Then they would. Yeah. Listen. I'm just telling you how it is. I'm not. If I'm the Giants, I don't fire anybody because, and I'm going to touch base on this in a second, but if I'm the Giants, I don't fire anybody. I just got to figure out what to do going forward, because the offensive line is a mess, but that's mostly due to injury. So you bring back the offensive line. Andrew Thomas should be back any week now. That's a big part. So you get your offensive line fixed up. And then you need a wide receiver, number one, which you can get in this draft. You don't have to pay big money in free agency, but you may want to do both. Then you kind of fix up the defense, which this is a great question. Manning still had Tom Moore and Jim Caldwell. Oh yeah, he did. Benny Boy should go. Here's the deal: the Chargers got all the talent in the world. It's not a good organization, but yeah, that would make a lot of sense. You get a quarterback who's better than the one that you got. You can debate this if you want, but I'm telling you, Herbert's better in golf. That's just a fact. Your receivers are better. But here's what you would need to do if you take that job. You would need to bring in you need to bring in the right guy on defense. And I don't know your whole defensive staff off the top of my head, but you would poach, probably poach one or two defensive coaches, maybe a defensive coordinator. And then you got to figure out what to do on defense. So, okay, great question. The biggest problem is that I like their front seven. It's just Ojulari's been banged up. Thibodeau's been banged up. I like the linebackers. The secondary, you got two rookie defensive backs. All right. And that's big because, the kind of got another brain freeze. The Wink Martindale defense is so complicated. Two rookie defensive backs. So really, there's not much that you really need to do. I would just add a defensive piece. A guy like the Honey Badger, I think would work perfect. Not really the type of guy that you want. Wink Martindale's always like bigger, physical defensive backs that can do multiple things, right? L'Jarius Sneed. You don't want to hear that. But that's kind of the perfect piece for the Giants. But all right, so offensively, Evan Neal looks terrible, and I don't know if you just. I know the Raiders drafted Alex Leatherwood in the first round, and everybody told me he's not a first-round player. And I'm like, you watch, he's going to go in the first round. And 2 years later, he's gone. And then Chicago picked him up. They just cut him. That's my knowledge. He's out of the NFL. You may just want to do that with Evan Neal. He was what, the 5th or 7th pick overall. He's just not that good. If he doesn't show signs of improvement, just don't fuck around. Get rid of him. All right. I'm not sold on Daniel Jones. I would also, you got to figure some things out, but I'm not sold on Daniel Jones. I never will be. I shouldn't say never will be, but I don't think he's the guy. I just don't. So here's what I do if I'm the Giants. 5 moves or less. All right. Quarterback. You're going to get a high draft pick. Get your guy. You can keep Daniel Jones. You can keep Tyrod Taylor. Get your quarterback. Number 2, wide receiver. Now do you want to try to fuck around and get a quarterback in the second round or get a quarterback in the first round? Depends on where you're picking at. I think this is a good enough draft that you can get a stud wide receiver in the second round. But what I would really do is that I would take your quarterback in round 1. I would get they messed around and got some. They didn't get what they wanted, but I would go ahead and get your wide receiver in free agency, and then second, third round I would draft one. All right, figure out what you're going to do with Saquon Barkley. That's move number 3. Figure out what you're going to do. Sign up, either give him the money that he wants or just cut ties. Just boom, figure it out. Make a decision. Don't do this 1 year bullshit. Just 3 years, $50 million. I know it sounds crazy, but give them the money, or just say, you know what, we're just going to move on. And if you move on, get yourself a running back. Dalvin Cook makes a lot of sense right now for that type of offense. I haven't done a lot of research into the running back draft yet. I don't think it's a good draft for running backs, but that's what I would do. Number 4 is I think you still need a player or 2 in the secondary, and that's really it. That's really it. I don't think he is, but I think that what he's doing isn't working. And I thought at first it would be Eberflus, but now with that win, the convincing win against the Raiders, and that rookie undrafted free agent quarterback looks significantly better in Fields. Jalen Carter looking like a monster, and you're the guy that you traded for is looking okay. To be honest with you, ever since you said it, I wish I would have said it first. I wish I can take, I'm going to start taking credit for that one pride. I'm going to take credit in saying that Harbaugh's going to Chicago. Why didn't I put 2 and 2 together, though? But he spent a lot of time in Indianapolis also. So, I mean, I think the optics would look bad if Kafka got fired and then got hired somewhere else to be a head coach. Well, here's the deal. If he gets fired, he's not going to get he's probably not getting an offensive coordinator position. He's probably going back to being a quarterback's coach somewhere. But a year or 2 down the line, yeah. But it wouldn't happen. Like he's not going to get fired. Mike Kafka's not going to get fired and then get hired on as a head coach. The Browns isn't a bad idea. Wow, God, Keys, that makes a lot of sense. Ben Johnson to Cleveland makes a lot of sense. Now, right now, Cleveland's 4-2, but yeah. Head coach trades rarely happen. Who is a head coach that you would trade from their current team to a new team for 2024 and after? Ooh, that's a good one. Um, you know would work, and it would never happen, but would work would be Dable for Staley. Dable I said almost said San Diego. Dable in LA would make a lot of sense, and I think Staley, because him and Wink Martindale, if they can find a way to coexist, I think might be able to do something with the defense. But if you do that, I think unless you think Kafka's the guy, you maybe bring in a world-class offensive coordinator. But if I'm Staley, I would go to a team with a good defense, and I think with a good defense and some good pieces in play, you may be able to do something. That would make a lot of sense. But I have very little confidence in Staley being a head coach. So, but I'm giving you coaches I think that are on the getting fired. But Todd Bowles is another guy, him and Dable, Todd Bowles, but he'd have the same problem. Like if you think the New York Giants offense looks bad, just put Todd Bowles in charge and see what you get. But Todd Bowles is a guy I think that he's going to get fired, and I think he's going to just stay as a defensive coordinator. Head coach I would trade for their current team for 2024 and after. It's funny because if the Cowboys don't win a Super Bowl, I could see Mike McCarthy getting the axe. And I'm trying to think of a team that maybe he could go to. And the only team I could really, I'll give you something that I don't think would work. I don't think it would work. But in my head, it would be a lot of fun. Would be McCarthy to Tennessee and Vrabel to Dallas. The only problem is with that type of move is I don't see Vrabel and I don't see Vrabel and Jerry Jones working together at all. I don't see it at all. And Vrabel's defense is a little different than Dan Quinn's defense. So, but the thing is, I think Vrabel would make it work. Offensively, I think Vrabel would just be able to step away. In that type of situation, though, I'm assuming Dan Quinn would take a head coaching job. We've already talked about this. Like teams want offensive coordinators without any head coaching experience. That's kind of the trend. I think Dan Quinn definitely gets a head coaching job next year. And I think there's going to be multiple teams that are going to be open. Quarterback, wide receiver, interior, defensive line, O-line. I would take out interior defensive line because they got some good players who've been banged up. But yeah. I would put the interior defensive line at the end. Polls like Pollard is finding it's much easier to be a free agent stud without a front office stud without Andy Reid as your head coach. Do you think Balky regrets passing on Hutch? Absolutely he does. Absolutely he does. But one thing you have to realize is Trayvon Walker, I predicted this. He's actually a really good player. He's just not a guy who's going to be a double-digit sack guy. He's never going to be that guy. And I think what they're asking him to do, I think he's doing just fine. But when I think about Josh Allen on one side, Nathan Hutchinson on the other, like that could be awesome. But yeah, he does. Absolutely. No, if he gets fired, if the Giants offense looks bad and they single him out and fire him, he's not coming back as an offensive coordinator. Now, he could this may sound crazy, but he could get an offensive coordinator at a Power 5 school and then come back to the NFL. There's going to be some changes in college football. There always is. And he could go from being an offensive coordinator in the NFL to an offensive coordinator in college and then come back a year or two later. But as far as the NFL, I sincerely doubt it. And because if he's labeled as the reason why the Giants offense, even though it's mainly injuries, teams aren't going to want to touch him. And me and you know that there was a lot of people saying, including me on this show, that this guy is going to be a future NFL head coach. And I think a couple of years down the line he will be. But if you look at the Giants and the way that offense is, and a lot of people may say the same thing, that, you know, Andy Reid is in charge of the offense, that's why we're not going to hire Eric Bieniemy. Well, you could say the same thing. You know, hey, look, Kafka, you know, Dable had all the success, Kafka has all the faults, and it's not fair, but it could happen. If he gets fired, he's not going to come back as an offensive coordinator, so he'd have no choice. But when you can go from quarterback coach to head coach. You know who else did that? Andy Reid. So I don't think there's any good owner that could bring in Staley as anything more than DC. No, I don't think so either. And I'm not even sure about that anymore, considering talents he had in LA and Amber. So awesome. Seems like Chiefs and Patriots assistants have something in common. That's not true. You know, Nagy had success early on. It didn't pan out. Eric Bieniemy, it's hard to say, but a lot of Andy Reid's assistants have had a lot of success in the NFL. Most of them are from his Philly days. You know, Sean McDermott, for example, he's doing a bang-up job. John Harbaugh, one of the best coaches in football, Andy Reid guy. You know, defensively, none of the Chiefs' defensive coordinators have left to take head coaching positions. But Doug Peterson's had success. Doug Peterson won a Super Bowl. So Ben Johnson to the Cowboys. Wow, that makes a lot of sense. Johnson to Dallas, Vrabel to the Giants, McCarthy to I think McCarthy to Tennessee actually makes a lot of sense. I really, really do. And Vrabel to the Giants also makes a lot of sense. Ben Johnson to Dallas. Ooh, that's a good one. Oh, you're talking about the draft. No, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Hutch will have a good game this week. He needs to. That offensive line's so your left. The Raiders' left tackle Colton Miller is really good. They have the third. I can't remember if he was this year's third-round pick or last year's. I think it was last year's third-round pick. Dylan Parham, good player. Their right tackle's bad. The right side of the offensive line's bad. They got so many holes. If you line them up one-on-one against Colton Miller the whole time, that's a mistake. But yeah. Slasher, what's up, brother? So it's funny. By the way, Slasher, if you haven't had a chance, in my description, it should be in my description below. I'm thinking now, maybe I don't have it, but check out my weekly picks video. Hopefully you have, but check it out. Spoiler alert, though, I picked Cincinnati. I picked Cincinnati. I picked them early in the week when I thought Purdy was going to start. It looks like Darnold. Now it's kind of up in the air. But, yeah. Yeah, I got Cincinnati winning. Yeah. Me and you both. Have Hutch having 13.5. Yeah. Yeah. Belichick has Vrabel as his most successful. Well, actually, here's the deal, though. Vrabel never coached in New England. So what happened was this is actually what happened. He got traded to Kansas City, and Vrabel was pissed. He did not want to come here, but we had Scott Pioli, who was trying to get as many expatriates, coaches, and players as he can. And he got a good trade. It was like a second and a seventh. And Vrabel, I think, was like 34 at the time. So he was pissed. He didn't want to come to Kansas City. Played really well, though. Like, played really, really well. And then we had Justin Houston. So he retired and went straight to Ohio State. And then he went to Ohio State. He was coaching outside linebackers at Ohio State. And then I think next year he was coaching outside linebackers at Houston because Romeo Crennel, as you recall, got fired from Kansas City. He came to Houston to be the defensive coordinator, and he brought in Mike Vrabel right away. So Vrabel's not he's a Belichick player. He's not a Belichick coach. I mean, if I was going to say, be honest with you, when I say who's Vrabel come from, if I'm going to say who's Vrabel come from, I'll tell you it's Romeo Crennel. But you could easily say Bill O'Brien, but I would call him a Romeo Crennel guy. So. I'm going to save it for a show, but Dan, this is a good one. Who's the best edge rusher and duo in the NFL right now, Dan? Oh, God. God. That's a tough one. I know he hasn't been putting up the numbers, but, I mean, Reddick's doing a good job, but, I mean, who's the guy next to him? I mean, because they just rotate so many guys. Same thing with San Francisco and Nick Bosa. God, that's a good one. Same thing. I can go eating. I keep going on and on and on. One pride stole my answer, and this is probably who I would think, and is that Watt's playing out of his mind, and Alex Highsmith's a really good player in his own right. That's probably my guess. That's it's hard to say because it's hard to say because when I look at Phillies, like give me the if you say duo, I'm probably talking Steelers, but like give me a unit to get after the quarterback. I'm taking Philly. I mean, who's the best pass rushing unit in the NFL right now? I'm going Philly because they got so many guys. They go so deep. I didn't know Sweat had 5.5, but I mean, theoretic, like when he just goes balls out. I mean, I love theoretic. I mean, I really do. It's just you got so many guys in there. But I mean, God, I mean, but give me the best pass rusher in football. I mean. It's hard to say Watt's not the best. I mean, I'll be honest, I would probably take Watt over theoretic, but I want Philly's pass rush over Steelers pass rush. Yeah. So it's hard to say, man. I mean, you said the answer is duo. I'm probably going Steelers. I love Chase Young, who I think could be traded very, very soon. So. Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, you can definitely say that, but I mean, when you talk coaching trees, I would put Vrabel under Romeo Crennel because Romeo Crennel's the guy that he hired who hired him and then replaced him. Well, Romeo Crennel retired and Vrabel, so. Oh God, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, we got Micah's in that treasure. Yeah, I mean, I it's funny because even though Chris Jones is being used as an edge rusher, I'm going to call him a defensive tackle. I don't care. So, that's actually who I have, and it's funny because Kinsey's going to play Philly. And unless massive injuries happen, Kinsey's going to beat Philly. And the reason why is I think Kansas City matches up really good against Philly. I really do. And I think Kansas City will beat Philly, but I have Philly number 1 also. So as a pure pass rusher, God, it's hard to say, man. It's so hard. I mean, both of them are capable of dominating games. I'm gonna say, let's say you're playing Madden, both these guys are 99. Watt is a pass rusher barely. Garrett is an athlete, yes. By the way, I'm gonna say something that's gonna sound like I'm dogging him, but neither one of those guys really stop the run. They really don't. And you can sit here and you can say, they're really great against run. And you'll hear people say that. It's not true. It's really not true. They're not really run stuffers. Both are good. Watt by a hair, maybe. I mean, but both, you're not wrong if you tell me either one. Garrett's a better athlete. I think Garrett's a down lineman and Watson outside linebacker. I mean, just getting at, I'm talking pure, just get after the quarterback. Watt by one of my pubic hairs. So. It's a shame because I mean Washington's just going to blow that thing. You know what? I'm about 135 into the show, and I haven't even gone over any of my picks yet. I don't know if I'm going to get to it. I'm going to try to. Cam and DJ are definitely number. Yeah. Z Smith, Miles Garrett, yeah, you're right about that. And I was trying to blank on Za'Darius Smith, but I mean Cleveland's got a good one too. No, I get what you're saying. I wouldn't do it that way. Because Belichick coached Vrabel as a player, but he wasn't under his tree as a coordinator. I get where you're coming from. It's like potato. I get what you're saying, but I don't consider Vrabel as part of the Belichick coaching tree. I just don't. What you're saying is not untrue. I just don't see it that way, unless you are a coach under him directly. That's how I would do it. Yeah, exactly. And that's why is that how far are we going back? Because there's so many guys. Anybody who's coached under Andy Reid, I don't put them under Mike Holmgren coaching tree. Or, I don't consider Andy Reid as part of the Steve Mariucci coaching tree, which you could say. So, yeah, exactly. It's tough. I goes Watt, Bosa, Garrett, Mad Max, and Hutch. I want to argue Hutch with you. I want to think. Micah is better than Hutch. So is Max. So is Daniel Hunter. I want to argue. I love the fact that you put Mad Max at 4. I don't hate that list. Yeah, I don't. I'm a level with it. It's funny because not only does Kansas City match up really well against San Francisco, the last time they played was the first game that McCaffrey was a 49er and Kansas City just beat the shit out of him. And I think Kansas City's easily a better team. And I say easily because you got Trent Williams out, Deebo Samuel out, CMC's not 100%. Who's playing at quarterback right now? Kansas City, except for Nick Bolton, who's going to be out for several weeks, is in really, really, really good shape, injury-wise. San Francisco's not. I do think Philly is going to. Yeah, they're going to lose to Kansas City. They play both Kansas City and Philly have buys the same week. And then they play at Arrowhead on Monday Night Football after both of them have buys. And Kansas City's going to win that game. And it wouldn't surprise me if they lose the division game. So. Hunter's at 10 sacks. Yeah, Daniel Hunter's really good. I love Daniel Hunter. That's a guy I wouldn't be surprised if he gets moved at the trade deadline. The only problem is that if you do that, you got to fill some holes on that defense. But it wouldn't surprise me, but you got to get something big for it. Yeah, he's really good. I don't know what the run D is like, but Micah is he was my pick to be defensive player of the year. His first 2 years in the league, he's finished second place both times. And but right now, I don't think he has it. As of today, I could go with Watt. Yeah. He was second as a rookie. So I want to go over these really quick here. And I didn't really have enough time to go over this, but the reason why I bring up the point, I'm not doing the over unders. I'm just bringing up the point spreads is because I want to the point spreads are dictated by the general betting public. The general betting public is going over these numbers, and some of them have made some massive changes. So I'm going to go over some of these changes that have happened. Minnesota at Green Bay. Green Bay opened as a 1.5 point favorite. All these numbers are coming from Caesars Sportsbooks. I just used Caesars this week instead of DraftKings, no particular reason. I got accounts. I got accounts on like several different betting websites, but usually I use DraftKings. I like Caesars because I'm a Diamond member. I don't want to go in on that too much, but basically I just there's a tier set. I'll just forget that anyway. I'm just using Caesars. You'll get different numbers, different betting websites. You can, by the way, DM me if you have any more questions, and I can go into some more detail. So, but Green Bay went from a 1.5 point favorite. It's now pick 'em. All right, I like Minnesota to win this game. I really, really do. But the general betting public. So basically, I made my video. It didn't get a lot of traction. This week's picks video did not get a lot of traction. That's why I want to put some little more effort into the next one, make it a little longer. But I like Minnesota to win that game, and the general betting public agrees with my sentiment. The lines jump from 1.5 to even. Probably the biggest jump of the week has been Tennessee. They were a 2 point favorite. They're now a 2.5 point dog, and that's just because Tannehill's out. You have a rookie quarterback. I kind of want to change my pick and go with Atlanta here, but I'm going to stick with Tennessee. I think they're at home. I think that they're going to have a nice package in play for Levis. I think they're also going to use Malik Willis on a few plays that may throw some things off. I got a low-scoring game here, but I like Tennessee. Jacksonville at Pittsburgh. The line was Pittsburgh is a 2.5 point home dog. It's now 2. I have an upset this week. I like Pittsburgh just at home. I think that they're going to do enough to confuse Jacksonville's offense. Defensively, they're not really playing all that well. They could use a guy like Aiden Hutchinson, who they didn't want to draft. And it's kind of an upset. And in general, betting public, it dropped from 2.5 to 2, so it's not a lot of big things. So I won't say that we're going to beat the Eagles. That I really like Kansas City. I think they match up really good, and I like them at Arrowhead. And so yeah. Eli Ricks from Alabama. For those of you who don't know, he was an Alabama player who had a really good game last week. He's a corner, and I don't remember why he went undrafted. I think it was an injury issue, but another really good move from the Eagles. And it may just be a one-game wonder, but I like what he's doing. Yeah, I like it too. He was a guy that was going to be he was going to be a really high draft pick, and I don't remember what happened. I think he got injured, and now he's with the Eagles. He had a good game last week. I love what Desi is doing. That D has added more players, and our O right now is still far away from its potential. I get it. But I mean, we got a couple weeks. I will say the Lions can beat the Niners. Wow, one pride picking his Lions. I'm so shocked. Yeah. Keys, he's talking about already knew it. Eli Ricks and Gooch is a big Auburn. I'm sorry, Gooch. Yeah, it's Gooch is a big Alabama fan. So yeah, Gooch knew. Yeah, Keys, that's all true. Yeah. And Slasher, I'm just telling you that Andy Reid, the streak ended with Detroit beating the Chiefs. Those 8 straight. But I don't know what the number is, but they've won a lot against after a bye. If it was during regular season, I may pick. I mean, dummy. If it wasn't just right after a bye, I would lean maybe towards Philly. But with a bye at Arrowhead on Monday night, you know who else is going to be there. You know, so yeah, I kind of like Kansas City. Hurts has been real sloppy with the ball too. Chris Jones might ruffle his feathers. Punted. That's really good. Yeah, I'm not a fan of the Eagles' offense, but the defense looks better. It's going to be a great game. Like I'm not saying that they're going to win 44-6. I'm just saying. But side note, since I've been sick, I've been watching like TV. I also have to watch TV asleep. If you haven't seen it, Silver Linings Playbook. I didn't think I would like it. It's pretty damn good. I mean, it's pretty damn good. I mean, if you haven't seen, if you're an Eagles fan, check it out. It's kind of funny. Chris Jones, Aminu, GK, and Dana. That's a good one. That's a good one. That quartet's going to do some damage. Hopefully, do a lot of damage Sunday. Hopefully, I can do play-by-play. That's right. He got in trouble with weed in his car in the summer, transferred to Bama, and then he got injured. Yeah, he was a first-round prospect and had some issues. So I don't like your corners, though, and A.J. Brown's on pace for a historic season. We have some really good corners, man. I mean, we really do. Really do. He was destroying them in the Super Bowl right before we imploded. A.J. Brown's a damn good player, but our secondaries was – I mean, you got to understand something. A.J. Brown is going against a bunch of rookies that are now second-year players and have all gotten better. So, I'm going to go over some more of these games. I'm going to try to get through all these games before I end the show. Rams at Dallas opened up at 6.5. It's now 6, a minor change. I like the Rams to cover because I think this is going to be a really close game, but I'd be shocked if Dallas didn't win. This is interesting with the Ram. This is interesting. Saints at the Colts. Saints at the Colts is opened up. Colts were a 1-point favorite. Now they're a 1-point dog. Kind of interesting. I mean, money's going towards the Saints. I like the Saints. I mean, maybe the general betting public's agreeing with me, but it's what I'm seeing. Philly at Washington was 6.5. Now it's 7. Basically, people like Philly. There's no reason not to like Philly, even on the road. I think Washington covers 7, to be honest with you. I think it's going to be a close game, but I'm not going against Philly right now. Seed is nice, but Trent McDuffie is small, and he has holes. He's not as small as you think. He's like 5'11", 195. I mean, compared to A.J. Brown, yeah, but and as far as having holes, not really. He's going to be a Pro Bowl cornerback. I'm telling you right now, he's better than you think, man. I mean, I'm not going to tell you we have the best secondary in football, but our corners are young and talented. McDuffie's guy is going to be a Pro Bowler, maybe at the end of this year. He's having a good season, a couple forced fumbles. I think he only has like 1 pick, but he's 5'11", 195. That's kind of standard size. So honestly, it was 2 things that was going to happen when we beat you guys and lose to the Ravens, or lose to the Chiefs, beat the Ravens. I see that. I see that. My upset pick of the week is I have New England at Miami. I like the Patriots. The line's 9.5. It stayed at 9.5. A lot of people like it. I really like the Patriots to cover. If you want, actually, it's happened a couple times. Byron Jones just recently, he signed that big free agent deal with Miami. He went to a Pro Bowl with no picks. I think he has 1. The Pro Bowl has turned into a joke. Well, let me quantify this. When I say Pro Bowl player, I mean Pro Bowl caliber player. He's a really good corner. He really is. I get what you're saying, but he really is. Buffalo fans kept on trying to say that they drafted Khalil Elam, and he took over as a starter. They got rid of his replacement to Seattle, and Seattle just benched him for Joey Porter. I'm drawing a complete blank on this guy. And Bills fans saying, "Oh, Elam's better than McDuffie." They stopped saying that. So, if you want to do like a fun bet, you're right. You're right about that. Yeah. The money line for Patriots is plus 345. I wouldn't bet a lot on it, but I mean 3.5 on it. By the way, I've nailed my last 2 upset picks. I picked New England beat Buffalo last week. Miami's offensive line's a little banged up. Their offense starts playing. If their offense, but I'm gonna tell you something. New England scores 29 points. I think they win this game. They score 29 against Buffalo, which I think is a better defense overall. So I like New England. I think New England covering 9.5 is a pretty safe bet. I really think so. New England at New York at New York, the battle in New York, and it's technically a home game for the Giants, not the Jets. Kind of goofy. So Josh had a pick 6 on Dak. I remember that. I remember that. Yeah, you get what I'm saying when I say Pro Bowl caliber player. Doesn't have to actually go to a Pro Bowl. Hopefully it made sense. By the way, the over-under on the Jets-Giants is 35.5. There is going to be rain. Here's the deal. The Jets defense is really good. You're going against Tyrod Taylor, a guy that can make some plays in the rain. I'm kind of like, when the number's that low, I'm kind of leaning towards the over, but the Jets, I think, could struggle on offense. That's just something they've been doing. I like the Jets to cover 3, but I don't love it. No, one of my upset picks for the week is Houston at Carolina. Carolina opened up as 3-point home dogs, now 3.5. People like Houston. I think Houston has a better team. Carolina's not going winless. And battle rookie quarterbacks, I think this is just Bryce Young. Bryce Young gets win 1. This is my pick right here. This is just my pick. Bryce Young gets win number 1. Cincinnati at San Francisco opened up at 5.5. It's now 4. That's a quarterback situation. This is also an upset pick. I really like the Bengals this week. My 2 upset picks. I know Carolina's 3.5 or Houston's a 3.5 point favorite. I like Carolina. San Francisco, since they opened up at 5.5. I'm calling this like my big upset, one of my big upset picks. My biggest one's New England, of course, but I really like Cincinnati. Really like Cincinnati. They're fresh off a bye. San Francisco off a short week, maybe a backup quarterback. So I like Cincinnati to cover 4. I like them a lot more covering 5.5, but I think Cincinnati wins outright and you can get some points. So Cleveland at Seattle. Seattle's a 3-point home favorite, jumped up to 4. I think it's going to be a close game. I like Seattle in the close one. I like Cleveland to cover. I had the score prediction, I think 27-25. I think it's going to be a fun game, but I do like Seattle. This is interesting. Baltimore at Arizona. Arizona was an 8.5 point home dog. Arizona is now a 10-point home dog. I predicted 27-19. So I predicted that. Crap! I thought it was 9. I thought it was 9. It's actually 8. So I feel like a dummy here. So I actually got Arizona covering. Oh God, I feel stupid. All right, I gotta go with what I said. So I got Arizona covering 8.5. You know what? I feel I'm almost positive I had. I'm really mad about this because I'm almost positive. I'm almost absolutely positive I had Baltimore covering this, and I'm really, really mad about this. I'm almost positive I had Baltimore covering 8.5 here, but my score prediction was 27-19. 28-19. Okay. 28-19. Okay. So here's the drill. I had Baltimore covering 8.5, not 10. I wouldn't bet on this game unless you're doing a money line, which you're not going to get good numbers, so don't do this game. Kansas City at Denver. Denver opened up as an 8-point home dog, has dropped to 7. That makes sense. I like Kansas City in a close one, but I like Denver to cover. I would not take Denver in at 7, but I would have taken Denver in 8. I really would have, even though the Chiefs won by 11 last time. Final Sunday and Monday games, the lines haven't changed. Chargers 8.5-point favorite. I like them to win. I don't think they cover 8.5. I think it's going to be a surprisingly close game. Vegas at Detroit. Detroit's an 8-point home favorite. I think they cover. I really think they cover. And then Tuesday, Tuesday's show is probably going to be a lot about the trade deadlines. That's kind of what I'm looking at. So listen, I'm going to wrap things up here. If anybody's got any final thoughts, questions, shoot. In the description below is all my social media. You can DM me. If you DM me, give me to Saturday night. If you DM me at Saturday night, I probably won't get back to you. But if you have any fantasy football questions, point spread, prop bets, anything at all, hit me up. Hit me up Saturday afternoon, and I'll go back to it. So, but I thought going into the season we would lose to the Cowboys. I'm not so sure right now. Listen, between now and it's week 17, so many things can happen. Dallas is a team that's not very deep. Dallas or Detroit could be resting starters. So, I mean, there's so many things. I wouldn't even focus on that right now. I mean, right now, what you want to do is try to build some room between you and Minnesota, which I really think those final 3 weeks of the season, all you got to do is win one. You may hit week 16 when you play Minnesota. You beat them. Rest starters the next 2 weeks. One Pride, I'll hit you up. Because I would love for you to come on and talk power rankings. And if you have any questions, thoughts about YouTube, live information, but Sean Cannell, the links are below. Check out his stuff. It's the best thing you can do if you trying to start a YouTube channel. Ooh, Slasher picking against the Cowboys. I'm shocked, an Eagles fan, thinking the Cowboys are going to lose. I think the Rams covered the spread. I think they covered the spread. I think it's going to be a close game. I really think it's going to be a close game. I got Dallas, but and the reason why is that the Rams' offensive line is really bad. The Cowboys' pass rush should just cause Stafford all sorts of problems. But I think it's going to be a closer game. Here's the deal: if the Rams, if they had a good offensive line, I would take the Rams easy. But the Rams' offensive line is really bad. The Cowboys have some playmakers on that defensive line, especially. I would not be surprised if Parsons has more than you put the over under at 1.5. I might go over. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. Parsons is a big game. I'm taking Dallas too. One Pride, hit me up. And guys, I'm going to get out of here. Have a great weekend. As far as the Chiefs game, I will if I'm going to do it, I'll try to set it up Saturday or Sunday. So if I do set it up, please join me, even though I'm like around 70%. But anyway, everybody have a great weekend. I'll see you hopefully if I'm doing the shows Sunday, play-by-play. I hope to see everybody back. Worst case scenario, I'll see you all back Tuesday for what could be a really interesting trade deadline show.